G'day everyone, this is Jermyn, aka The Terrible Aussie, and welcome back to another installment of Spin the Wheel Q&A. I am, of course, Bede, The Terrible Aussie, and with me as always is Super Marcey. Hello Marcey, how are you?
Hey! Doing alright, Bede? How are you doing?
Not too bad, thanks. Living life as per usual and sort of keeping myself busy these days, but there's always so much to do. But I'm definitely looking forward to this edition of Spin the Wheel Q&A because that's the thing though, there's quite a number of good questions that we have on the wheel, and the fun is just to know like which question is going to be picked. So I'm excited to see what this one's going to be.
Yes, I am nervous and excited. So, without further ado, let us spin that wheel. Are you ready, Bede?
I am ready. Let's do this.
All right, let's spin that wheel. And what are we going to get today? Guess what it is?
I'm scared. To quote you.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Ooh. That is a good question. I mean, here's the thing. And I just said it just then.
Please check out Bede's video. Well, the video I edited of Bede, where he says, but that's the thing, though. That's the thing, though. So many times in the one podcast, it's a beautiful compilation.
Indeed.
Go see it.
Now, and I don't think I could ever listen to the Hereditary commentary ever again now because of that video. Now, in terms of Star Wars or Star Trek, I mean, I think I love both franchises in different ways because Star Wars at the end of the day is more sort of a space opera / fantasy type of film series, while something like Star Trek is kind of a much more sort of grounded, more believable kind of exploration into space. And in a way, like I said, with Star Wars, that's kind of has a more fantasy feel, while something like Star Trek has this kind of more naval kind of explorer kind of approach to its storytelling. And of course, it deals with deeper themes, and so does Star Wars, not to say that they don't. But I guess if I have to choose between the two, and I'm going to have to go with Star Wars. Star Wars was kind of the film series I grew up on. I love the films. I still do to this day. I'm probably going to be on the controversial opinion. I don't think, except for one thing, I don't think there's really a bad Star Wars film. You could say that there's kind of mixed bag ones or okay ones, but I don't think there has ever been a bad one, a truly bad one in the franchise. But if I was going to name a bad one, it would be the Star Wars Holiday Special. But that's a whole different thing altogether. But I do love the series, and it's the series has had its up and downs over the years in terms of quality, but there's always a series of films I always go back to. I always have a lot of fun with them. And, some of my favorite entries, of course, being the first Star Wars film, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. Well, Return to the Jedi was always my personal favorite growing up, and I always will have a soft spot. And, the prequels, and I really enjoy the prequels as well. Same. Like, I can definitely see people's issues with them, but I feel like they're a lot better than people give them credit for.
Same.
Maybe the execution could have been a bit better, but that being said, there's still a lot of fun. And I think Revenge of the Sith is up there as one of the best entries in the franchise. And you know what? It seems like, just as controversial now, I even enjoy the sequel trilogy in their own ways.
Yeah.
I think Force Awakens, while I do think it's too much, rehashes too much elements from A New Hope in terms of its plot, but was a good gangbuster of a film that at least reintroducing Star Wars to a whole new generation and also sort of recapturing that feel of the very first film. The Last Jedi is one that is very divisive among a lot of people. People either love it or hate it due to the things that happen to it. But I actually think it's probably one of my top 3 favorites of the franchise. I think every time I watch it, it just gets better and better. Rise of Skywalker is definitely the weaker of the 3, mainly because I feel like with the first 2 films, like they did a good job sort of setting up each other, like where sort of elements sort of started with The Force Awakens. And despite what some people say, Last Jedi explored those, but then created its own ways, which would have led off into the third film in terms of plot threads, character arcs, and stuff. But of course, due to the sort of the divisive nature of Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, kind of backtracked on a lot of things and just felt like it was trying to be more of an apology than anything else. It's not to say that it's still not enjoyable. I mean, the first time I watched it, I was like, kind of. Second time I watched it, I definitely warmed up to it a little bit more. I still enjoyed it for what it is, but it's definitely kind of one of the weaker ones of the whole franchise for me, not just the sequel films, but it's still enjoyable in its own way. And of course, you got the spin-off films like Solo and Rogue One, which I think were a lot of fun. Particularly Rogue One, I really enjoyed that one a lot. And we got the TV shows like The Mandalorian is really fun as well, and we got a lot more Star Wars films and TV shows coming. So there's a lot of great stuff coming, and I think for me that's why I enjoy the series so much, because I do think sometimes some filmmakers do get caught up in too much in the nostalgia of Star Wars rather than trying to create something new within that world. That's why I kind of always liked Last Jedi, because it shows us things that we've seen before, but it takes a different spin on them and actually goes deeper in the mythos and the themes of the franchise. So I think to me so some elements of the franchise, I feel like certain films that kind of get too enamored with the past and nostalgia. But that being said, though, they're a lot of fun. And Star Trek, though, I also really enjoyed as well. And I grew up watching Star Trek a lot, like the films and the TV shows and all that. And don't ask me why, but the two most Star Wars films, the three, I should say, I used to watch. Actually, you know what? I used to watch a lot of Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, also The Voyage Home, especially Voyage Home. I used to watch that one a lot. But for some bizarre reason, one of my favorites growing up was, in fact, The Final Frontier. Don't ask me why. I used to watch that one a lot as a kid. I do recognize it's definitely not a good movie. But it's kind of like nestled like with Superman 4, that I know it's a bad movie, but I can at least watch it compared to other bad entries in the franchise. And, the J.J. Abrams universe ones I quite enjoy. Into the Darkness is kind of the weakest one of that one, mainly because, do we really need Khan again? Especially when we already knew it was Khan, but that's a whole different story. But the first one's great, really great startup of that, bringing it to a new audience. And also Beyond, which I thought was a really one that, a really good entry that kind of invoked more of the 60s TV show. And of course, there's other TV shows, like the original series I enjoyed. Next Generation I watched a lot of when I was a kid. Deep Space Nine I also really liked too, and also Voyager. I haven't seen a lot of the shows in years, and I kind of go more to the movies now. But I still enjoy Star Trek. But for me, I guess it's going to be Star Wars in the end. That's the one I kind of grew up with, and the universe I'm kind of more invested in.
Fair enough.
But what about yourself, Marcy? Which of the two is your favorite?
Well, it's really hard for me because I love both so much. But in thinking about it, I am actually going to pick Star Trek, because I think Star Trek has had more of an impact on my life than Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Growing up, I probably actually did see Star Trek first, because I remember, when the Next Generation first started on TV, I was probably about 3, and I remember watching it on TV as it was airing, being 3. That's one of my earliest memories, is seeing that on TV, which is pretty incredible. So, yeah, having first seen Star Trek, it really did stick with me, and I just was watching the series probably more Next Gen and Deep Space Nine more, but I used to watch them every day. I used to remember almost every single episode, what it was called, what order it was in, where it would be, in which season. Almost the same with the Deep Space Nine. So yeah, I watched it a lot. And that being said, I still watched a shitload of Star Wars growing up. I watched the 3 original films all the time growing up, and it was a pretty big event when they re-released them at the cinemas, and then when we got the prequels, and of course the further sequels. But I distinctly remember like when Generations, the movie, came out, I was so excited. I don't think I had been more excited for a movie in my entire life than to see like a Star Trek The Next Generation movie on the big screen. So I had to be like one of the first sessions to go see it. And yeah, that film does have its issues, but it's very nostalgic to me with all these feelings. Being able to see this, I collected like the trading cards and all sorts of stuff. It was such a big deal and it was very meaningful for me. And it was the same when First Contact was ready to come out. We knew it was a movie that had the Borg in it and it was so exciting. I like could not wait to go see this movie. And I remember going distinctly with my parents. We went to go see First Contact and we even got into a session before the big Star Trek club in Adelaide. So there we go.
Oh, nice.
We were nerds. But, you know,
What?
Sorry.
Let's go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say Star Trek for like my family was a big thing. We all used to watch it all the time. We loved that show, and I probably have watched a hell of a lot more Star Trek than Star Wars, despite the fact I've rewatched Star Wars movies so many times. I have rewatched like Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, even the original series so many freaking times, and the movies. And, you know, more recently that we had sort of a revisit of The Next Generation with the Picard series. And some people were quite mixed on it or didn't like it. I absolutely loved it. I was almost in tears every episode just because I had something that was Next Gen and Captain Picard back. So, yeah. I think they're both fantastic things, but if I have to pick, I'm going to pick Star Trek. And you can say what you were going to say when I cut you off.
I was going to say, like, I sort of now thinking about it, I think the first Star Trek film I actually saw in the cinema was Insurrection.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I never saw the other ones in the cinema. I think I only saw them when they came out on VHS. So Insurrection, because I remember because my town I grew up in, Cobar, we finally actually had a cinema built in there, like a proper cinema. Because at that time, I don't know what I would classify it. It was like a traveling cinema. Like it would come to town like once a month with like two movies.
Okay.
And they would play it on a big screen at the RSL club there in the big hall there.
Yeah.
And I remember like seeing Ninja Turtles, Milo and Otis and stuff like that. Just playing at the cinema there. Well, not cinema, that screenings there. But then when my town actually decided to open a cinema, and I remember, like, this was in 97, and then so a year later, Insurrection finally played, and I actually got to finally see a Star Trek movie on the big screen. So Insurrection is definitely not one of my favorite entries of the franchise.
No.
But it was cool kind of at least finally getting to see a Star Trek film on the big screen.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's not the best at all. Out of the Next Gen movies, I'd say it's the weakest. I at least think there's some more merit to Nemesis.
I mean, I think it was the one that, I guess for me, that one was, it felt like the most, it could have just been a TV episode. That's
it didn't feel very cinematic, as it should have been. And, look, I was quite mixed when they rebooted the Star Trek movies. I was so on that first Star Trek, but it's definitely warmed up. I don't really like Into Darkness that much. I don't think it's a very good film. I don't think it handled the story I wanted to tell very well, but I thought Star Trek Beyond was excellent. I absolutely loved that. And I really then wanted more out of this growing, series, but we haven't had anything since, and that makes me sad. I actually really felt connected to the characters in this new universe. It definitely got me really invested, and it's one that I definitely want to revisit again. So.
Yeah, well, I know they're working on new Star Trek films. I guess it sort of depends on whether the original cast from the Abrams series will be in the next one, or will they start a whole new fresh with new characters and all that. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But now that Star Trek is kind of really, I mean, with the help of the Abrams series, we've got new Star Trek shows that are out at the moment. So Star Trek, like Picard, of course, and also Discovery and also an animated series called Lower Decks, which I hear good things about.
Yeah.
So Star Trek is very much alive right
Mm.
now, and it's just only in due time that we get another film.
Yeah.
I do hope that the Abrams cast comes back, even though unfortunately Anton Yelchin won't be, since he's passed away since. I hope they do come back, because I love those actors and their takes on the original characters. I thought everyone, regardless on what people think of the Abrams films, I think the cast did a great job at capturing the essence of those original characters.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see more of them.
Yeah.
In the future.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So there we go. We had, well, I guess we had arguments, or not arguments, but like views is what I want to say, of both sides, coming from people that actually love both the series. But I think we have reasonable answers as to why, you know, I've picked Star Trek and you've picked Star Wars. And we actually haven't had an argument, because there's no point in having an argument, because both things absolutely rule.
Exactly. Both rule, and you know, we have fun with them, and we're not we're not like the annoying fans of either franchise who just who always get pissy anytime anything with the franchise happens.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, just enjoy it, people. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to like everything, and that's fine. But you know, just have fun.
Exactly. That brings a wrap to episode 4 of Spin the Wheel Q&A with Marcey and Bede. I think this might have been our longest episode, because we had a lot to unpack with the question.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a big one. When you're going like Star Trek, Star Wars, there's a bit to unpack there. But as usual, you can subscribe to us here on YouTube and like the video, and you can definitely comment and tell us if you like Star Trek or Star Wars better, or which you like better, or maybe none at all. Who knows? And of course, you can find us at our base of operations at supermarcey.com. Until next time, I've been super, Bede's been terrible, and we are going to stay away from those damn tribbles.
Exactly. Or just Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks with Jar Jar Binks with triples.
Oh no, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
But so we'll see you later, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.